trouble usually comes when you least expect it. For me, it started on a Tuesday morning when the HOA board stormed up to my porch with photos in hand, accusing my 12-year-old daughter, Emily, of spray painting graffiti across the neighborhood park wall. But Emily didn't even own spray paint. What she did own was a worn sketchbook filled with her drawings that, as fate would have it, would soon expose a truth bigger than anyone could imagine. Backhand index pointing right. Before I dive deeper, if you love stories where everyday families turn the tables on outrageous HOAs, make sure to subscribe. We share real, powerful stories every week, and you won't want to miss the next twist. I stood there holding the letter they had shoved at me, reading the charges like I was in some courtroom. Fines, mandatory cleanup, and a threat of further disciplinary action. My blood boiled. Emily stood at the doorway behind me, her face pale, clutching her sketchbook to her chest. Emily doesn't vandalize. She draws. She's an artist, I snapped. But Karen, the head of the HOA and self-proclaimed neighborhood sheriff, smirked. We saw her near the park with that notebook. Who else would do it? Kids these days, that was Karen for you. Always first to accuse, last to apologize. I slammed the door in their faces and turned to Emily. She was on the verge of tears. Dad, I swear, I didn't do it. I was just sketching in the park. I saw a boy there too, but he looked lost. That caught my attention. Lost? Emily nodded and opened her sketchbook. On one page was a detailed pencil drawing of a boy about 10 years old, messy blonde hair, oversized hoodie, scared eyes. She had captured his expression so vividly it was like he was staring right back at me. He was just sitting by the wall, she whispered. I drew him because he looked like he didn't belong. I studied the sketch, uneasy. Something about it tugged at me. The next day, HOA officers doubled down. They'd emailed every resident saying Emily was guilty and must pay for her crime. People were whispering. Parents gave a side eye at the grocery store. My daughter's reputation was being shredded over something she didn't do. That evening, Emily came into my office, still holding her sketchbook. Dad, I think that boy was in trouble. I saw him again, kind of sneaking around by the park. So I drew him again. She flipped to another page. Same boy, this time peeking nervously over his shoulder. Something snapped in me. This wasn't vandalism. This was evidence. I decided to take her sketch to the local police. The officer at the desk raised an eyebrow. Sir, this is a drawing. But then a detective walking by froze mid-step. He grabbed the sketch. His eyes widened. Where did you get this? It's my daughter's drawing, I explained, heart pounding. She saw this boy near our neighborhood. The detective exhaled hard. This kid, he matches the description of a child who's been missing for 2 weeks. My jaw dropped. Emily wasn't just sketching. She had drawn a missing child. The officer pulled out a flyer. My stomach knotted, it was the same boy. Emily's sketch captured his fear more vividly than the photo ever could. I raced home and told Emily. Her eyes went wide. I knew he needed help. But here's where things got messy. While we were preparing to help the police, the HOA doubled down. That same night, Karen left another letter in our mailbox. Fines had escalated. They were demanding payment within 10 days, or else. They had no idea they were about to be laughed out of existence. The morning after the police visit, our community was buzzing. Word traveled faster than wildfire. My daughter, Emma, the one the HOA branded a vandal, had drawn a sketch that could lead to solving the missing child case. Still, the HOA board wasn't backing down. At the emergency meeting, their president, Karen Walters, crossed her arms with that smug look she always wore. This is irrelevant, she snapped when neighbors asked why Emma was still being targeted. She defaced HOA property, and she should be punished. I stood up, clutching a folder of evidence. Punished? I asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Karen, that defacement might bring a child home alive. And for your information, the police have already ruled Emma out. They're grateful for her help. Murmurs swept the room, but Karen pounded her gavel. We will not tolerate. That's when the door opened, and Detective Alvarez walked in. He nodded at me, then turned to the crowd. Actually, you will tolerate it. The girl you all accused has provided the most accurate witness sketch we've seen. It matches a suspect we've been chasing for months. Thanks to Emma, we've got him in custody. The room fell silent. Karen's smugness dissolved into pale shock. The twist no one expected: 2 days later, the news reported the missing boy had been found, alive. He was shaken, but safe, and already on his way back to his family. Emma's sketch had pinpointed the exact man responsible, someone no one had suspected, a maintenance worker who often roamed our neighborhood. The HOA board scrambled to clean up the mess they had made. But neighbors weren't buying their excuses. At the next community vote, petitions circled calling for Karen's removal. Even those who once stood by her were now embarrassed to be associated with her cruelty. Emma's redemption: what happened next stunned us. The local paper reached out to Emma for an interview. They called her the girl who saw what others missed. She was shy at first, clinging to me as the reporters asked questions. Did you mean to help the police? They asked. Emma shook her head. I just draw what I see. I didn't want the boy to be hurt anymore. That answer went viral. Soon, Emma wasn't the vandal. She was a hero. Parents in the neighborhood began asking her to teach their kids drawing lessons. Schools invited her to art fairs. The very walls she once painted, those the HOA tried to erase, were now seen as part of her gift. Even more poetic? One of her murals was declared a community treasure. The city stepped in and told the HOA they had no right to paint over it. Karen nearly fainted when she heard that. Facing the HOA one last time at the next HOA meeting, I went with Emma at my side. Karen looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her voice cracked as she read her apology, forced by legal counsel and public outrage. We regret our actions toward the Bennett family. The HOA will be making a donation to the Missing Children's Fund in Emma's name. I leaned toward Emma and whispered, "Looks like you made history." Emma just smiled shyly. But I knew, at that moment, she realized something powerful. She wasn't just an artist. She was someone who could change lives with her gift. The best part? The shed the HOA once accused her of vandalizing became a community art space. Neighbors pitched in to buy supplies, and Emma painted murals there, this time with everyone's blessing. And Karen? She eventually resigned. She couldn't handle the shame of being the villain in a story that had made the local, and eventually national, news. So, the HOA that once tried to crush my daughter's spirit ended up giving her a platform to shine. They accused her of being a vandal, but she turned out to be the very person who saved a child's life and brought a neighborhood back together. Sometimes justice doesn't come in courtrooms or fines. Sometimes, it comes when the truth shines through a child's sketch, clearer than anything the HOA ever tried to paint.